Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. You know, you've been able to be a part of the culture at University of Dallas for a decade now in a different role, but now you're taking over as the head coach. And you obviously, I think every coach knows how important culture is, and that buzzword is out there. But how does culture drive performance in your program?
Well, I think if you're not fighting for your culture 24/7, somebody else is. And if you're not, I guess, specific with it, and you're not fighting for it, then you're ultimately, what's driving your program is not you. And that's a scary thing. So I think culture drives everything within your program. Go ahead.
You nailed it though. Like every program out there has a culture that's driving it.
Yes.
But is the culture what our players are watching, listening to, what their peers are saying, what families are saying back home, or is it something that, that is positive that you are driving and that your program stands for? Good point.
Yeah. If you're not intentional with it, and that was the word I was struggling to find, was being intentional about where, what things do we stand for, and what are our standards, and how do we act from it, on the court standpoint, off the court standpoint, when we travel. I mean, just anything and everything. We're getting ready for our first road trip this week, and already in the back of my mind, I'm going, what does that look like in rehearsal these next 3 days of practice? And in fact, I was driving to pick up groceries today, and I was like, running through my head, all right, these are the things that I'm going to talk about with the team. First of all, we're going to learn the bus driver's name. We're going to call the bus driver by name, and we're going to thank whoever that bus driver is every time we, arrive at our destination, and we're going to greet them when we get on the bus. That's important to us. And again, just little things like that a lot of people don't think of. That's part of your culture. And in our culture, we have three terms that drive our culture, and that's purpose, resilience, and togetherness. And if you think about those three words, it's not just applicable on the court, but it's applicable in the classroom. It's applicable in your family life, just your daily dealings. Everything has a purpose. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't need to be part of what you're doing. And we're all human beings. We're all going to make mistakes. So therefore, we have to be resilient. We have to be able to bounce back in the face of adversity very, very quickly. And the third piece is, obviously, we do everything together, and we rely on somebody no matter what. Nobody's completely self-sufficient. So we've got to learn how to do, work together towards a common goal, whether we like it or not. And the great thing, Matt, is, and you know this, and I know I've known you long enough that I know you believe this, that those lessons are far more important than any game. However, we can teach those things through a game that kids love to play.
Yeah. I think the hope for all of us is that when our players leave our program, that it's not just X's and O's that they remember, or the ability to teach them to shoot better that they remember. And if it is, if we're not getting invited to their weddings, and if that relationship doesn't continue, and obviously some are stronger than others, but there has to be some bigger purpose. And I like the fact that your culture pieces, like you said, it will help you on the floor, but they work off the floor. How many times is our culture only geared toward basketball? I'm sure ours is or not ours is 3-point shooting, but we do have a culture of shooting in our pro. It's what we want to be known for, with something we want to hang our hat on, but it can't be a pillar in our team dynamic, because then it's only on the floor, and it's shallow at that point.
Right. I would say that's probably in my definitions, that's probably more, basketball philosophically, how you want to play, as opposed to being culture driven,
you know,
Yeah.
but it's easy. It's easy for it to slide in anything that we do, just about basketball. And I think, if I look over even just 9 years here, the best seasons we had are when it was more than basketball. The bad seasons we had is when I probably focused too much on that part.
Right. Well, and that's that has a tendency to happen, and I've gotten caught up in it too. My first head coaching job, I was at Moscow High School. It was 22 years ago, and I was just all about. I was going to set the world on fire, man. I was going to win every game, and boy, I quickly learned: A, I didn't know it all. B, it should have been far greater than just the game of basketball. I should have, I wish I would have heard Phil Jackson's quote. There's more to life than basketball, and there's more to basketball than basketball.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.